Over recent years, Star Wars fans have put up with a lot, especially if you dislike what has happened to the franchise after Disney took over. Bad movies are bad enough, and a ton of us despise what happened with the Gina Carano situation, but the worst of it are the personal attacks against the fandom.
Who wants some chicken dinner now, bitch? Cause somebody messed with the wrong way today.
I hate the Disney movies, with the lone exception of Rogue One, which was mildly passable, but I don't condemn anyone who disagrees with me. In fact, more power to you if you like those films. But that courtesy is not extended to those of us who dislike these movies. The latest example comes from an article in Pirates and Princesses. If you don't like Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy, you're probably alt-right.
It's not true. Tell me it's not true.
Yeah, it isn't true. I know lots of people all across the political spectrum who absolutely despise the Star Wars films. This attitude emanates from the smooth brains at Disney who want to scare people away from disagreement. In the minds of people like Kathleen Kennedy, the perfect customers are those of us who are too frightened of being labeled bad guys to not consume the product. Well, Kathy, this one's for you. If you don't like Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy, that's probably just because you're alt-right. According to Wikipedia, the alt-right consists of a loosely connected far-right white nationalist movement. Wow, that's pretty harsh, especially if you're not white. Not only do I know plenty of people across the political spectrum who hate these cinematic equivalents of unflushable turds, but I know lots of people of various races who hate them as well. I thought these woke people believed in not lumping everyone together based on their skin color, but making assumptions about people based on race is about the only thing these a-holes do.
It's funny because it's true.
And you're probably being brainwashed by a handful of YouTubers and websites that are an arm's throw from alt-right. Luminaries like Steve Bannon, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Alex Jones. I know, it's a lot to unpack, but gamers have been dealing with these smears for years, even from, quote, reputable, unquote, news outlets like the New York Times. So Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy was basically sabotaged by some grand right-wing conspiracy, and you, dear Last Jedi detractor, are an unwitting part of it. I mean, come on guys, don't you remember that meeting we all attended several years ago? The one where we were all twirling our mustaches and admiring one another's jackets made from the skin of baby seals, and then, lo and behold, there was Satan himself, seated at the head of the table, laying out his plans to foil the triumphant Star Wars films that were being made by Kathleen Kennedy and Disney.
I am the Lord of Darkness.
That's what an idiotic manifesto from a website and podcast called Rewriting Ripley is postulating. According to the author, who is reportedly a journalist and game industry analyst named Katie McCourt, the fan backlash against The Last Jedi is actually some grand conspiracy with Steve Bannon at the top of a literal pyramid of alt-rightiness. we need to talk about how this so-called fan backlash is part of a larger movement to change and control culture put into motion by former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon in 2014, and it was a movement that successfully led to far-right governmental shifts in the United States, the UK, India, Italy, and Africa. Leveraging over 1 million tweets and greater than 1,000 YouTube videos, this article will track the successful rise of radical right-wing hate, white supremacy, and misogyny in fan spaces starting with Gamergate and leading up to the rise of Skywalker.
Take a look at this! Jesus Christ, that right there is...
This is literal conspiracy theory nuttiness, the geek equivalent of some fruitcake strapping tinfoil to his head and telling us all about how the government is trying to read his thoughts. But do you see the game they play here? They cannot possibly allow for the fact that some people, in this case a clear and obvious majority, dislike the movies based on their merits. Their only option, in order to save face, is to call us all names and turn us into others. I wonder who could be behind that sort of idea. Who is hyper-focused on looking like a rock star at all times? No, it couldn't possibly be that it was simply a polarizing movie that, in many fans' eyes, destroyed the character of Luke Skywalker and led to a massive decline in revenue for the brand. That's way too simple. It has to be a grand plan concocted by white nationalists. You see, every time you hit the downvote on a Lucasfilm YouTube video, it's actually because Steve Bannon put that thought into your brain. You're just an easily led automaton. But don't worry, because Rewriting Ripley is here to save you from your dependency of thought with propaganda? Yes, it's an obvious hit piece that uses faulty, skewed data and strong political bias. The site was clearly designed simply to try and smear several successful YouTube channels that cover Disney Star Wars in an unflattering light. But what's concerning is who is listening to and sharing this junk science. Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo reportedly followed the Rewriting Ripley account on Twitter, and some Star Wars fans are wondering aloud if employees at Lucasfilm are actually weaponizing this hit piece to try and silence dissenting fan voices. Look at these tweets from notable Twitter account Data Racer. Last year, Lucasfilm's social media manager put out a call for data analysts to help her make this fandom better. She was introduced to Katie and made connections with the other SJW data scientists who've tried to deplatform the fandom menace off YouTube. This was all very suspect. Lucasfilm executive Pablo Hidalgo started following Rewriting Ripley after she launched the mass flag attacks. Pablo has followed multiple SJWs trying to destroy the fandom menace. How much involvement does Lucasfilm have in these efforts to silence their critics?
I'm curious.
And then there's Katie McCourt herself, who has allegedly been chumming up to Lucasfilm employees for quite some time, according to Twitter user DataRacer117. The Rewriting Ripley podcast, trying to deplatform Star Wars YouTubers, is being run by Raylo SJW Katie McCourt. She says TLJ haters' opinions are violent, have damaged her mental health, and she fears for her life because fans criticized a movie. Ethan Van Sciver is being targeted. If you can't beat them fair and square, just call them alt-right and call it a day. Yes, when you have no argument, just call your opponent deranged villains. That seems to be the motto of Lucasfilm, coming from professional victim Kathleen Kennedy, the ultimate cryboy. Her pawns in media and social media attack fans constantly, and the moment one of her employees bucks the company message, she's sent packing. Absolutely disgusting. If there is a monster in the room, it's the one demonizing the people who just wanted a place to escape from all this political drama, from all the hardships of the world. The monsters are the ones who followed us here, into Star Wars, the ones who plan to nuke us from orbit the moment we are vulnerable.
Death Star approaching. Estimated time to firing range, 15 minutes.
Unfortunately for them, they have their own vulnerabilities, namely our disapproval as paying customers, or in this case, not paying customers. So don't buy into their propaganda. Don't let this sort of thing get to you. The fact that they have to resort to these tactics is clear evidence of their weakness. The Force is on our side here, folks. Keep downvoting these ignoramuses into oblivion.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.